Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the EnerShe Podcast, where we have conversations, never competition. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EnerShe Podcast. My name is Adriana K. Granlund, your host, and I'm here alongside my amazing co-host, Crystal Funant, and of course, Karen Shirley. And today we are welcoming an incredible guest, Kristen Shea, the Kristen Shea, if you are looking at her Instagram. She is a life coach who focuses on visibility and overcoming fear of being seen and helping people really step into who they truly are meant to be. She's also a fellow podcaster at the Breakthrough Podcast, so make sure you tune in. So, Kristen, we're super honored to have you here with us today. So before we dive in, I just want to say here on the EnerShe Podcast that we truly believe that everyone is entitled to their own set of beliefs. We honor that, we respect that. And in this space, it's simply just to have a conversation in an open, honest dialogue about spirituality, perspective, and personal experience. So that's the topic that we're talking about today is spirituality. And of course, we're not here to judge other people for what they believe. So we ask that you don't judge us for our openness and our beliefs. So with that, without further ado, the Kristen Shea. Shall we dive in, Kristen?
Let's do it. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Super excited to have you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kristen, I have been following you for a while. As a matter of fact, the very first time I came across your Insta, I sent you to all my friends. I was like, you guys need to hear this woman. She's phenomenal. I love your manifestation talk, the fact that you're highly spiritual and you're not afraid to tell it, which I highly admired because this is something a lot of times we can feel like we need to keep secret. Like I'm highly spiritual. I actually, I'm a strong manifester or I pray and I talk to angels or, I use tarot cards or decks and people are so fearful of talking about this. So I loved your openness and
Yeah.
also your ability to teach. So how would you say, Kristen, how would you define spirituality in your work?
Mm.
And how does that differ from the mindset of like self-help?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, everything is spiritual in nature, including self-help. Like I think there's an undertone of spirituality to really everything. And for me, I think on a broader perspective, spirituality really just represents a connection to something other than yourself. So whether that's God, source, spirit, the universe, like a rock outside, if that's what it is, like just something outside of yourself, that there is something that exists, this energy. And I think that undertone for me is in everything. So to me, there isn't anything that isn't spiritual, including like mindset or personal development or really anything that's self improvement, psychology included.
Hmm.
But I think it often, you know, because spirituality isn't necessarily something you can like prove. I think we start to have some neuroscience and some quantum that is like starting to show that. But I think
Hmm.
a lot of times it's really pushed aside from mindset work or personal development or psychology. I
Right.
think like part of the reason why people are afraid of it is it's like, oh, it's too woo woo. You can't
Yes.
say that. It's too like, and so I think
Mhm.
that the fear to speaking about it, to living it, but then also like it just kind of makes it separate, even though
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's talking about the same thing, but just in a really different lens.
I totally agree with that statement. Very well put. It's that duality of separateness, right? And it's actually all the same. And Karen, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this piece, but Karen is like my best friend, and we've been best friends for like ever. What feels like ever, right, Boo? But she and I actually talk a lot about how people think, people are casting spells. Well, what is a prayer, right?
Yeah.
People say, well, manifesting is like the woo woo stuff. And I'm like, well, what is it when I pray to my higher power and asking for something to come to fruition? Isn't that manifestation? So we
Right.
actually talk a lot about how like there's a lot of division in how people talk about things, but we're all talking about the same thing, you
Totally.
know?
Totally. And it's like everything is all for the higher good, right? So no matter which one you believe in, it's like we're all wanting or desiring something different, right? In our life, we're manifesting more money or love or whatever it is. We're all wanting to change something or create a change. and we're
Yes.
just viewing it through a different lens or maybe taking a slightly different path. But like if you were to actually put all these things down side by side, it's the same thing.
It's the same. It's
Right.
totally the same. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. Well said. Thank you so much for that
Mm.
answer, Kristen. I thought that was so, so true.
Yeah,
And
of
I also
course.
think it's like how we vibrate on a certain level too, because going back to how close Adriana and I are, it trips us out every time. Like each one of us will feel something, and then we'll call one another and be like, "What's going on with you?"
Yeah.
And we'll hit it on the nail every time that something's
Mhm.
really going on with one another, or even how someone texts each other. We're like, nope, that one word seems slightly off with you. What's
Yeah.
going on? Are you okay? You know,
Yeah.
we like can pick up on each other's
Hmm.
vibration. You
Yes.
Yeah.
know, we're like connected spiritually.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
think, that has a lot to do with being connected to the spirit, the source, God, a higher
Yeah.
power, that we're all connected.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Do you ever have that with anybody in your life, Kristen, where you feel like Karen and I, although it's like we're soul sisters, right? And like literally I'll walk in a room, she'll see a look on my face, she'll be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Uh, I sent her a text, which is what she's referring to the other day. And it was so funny because I didn't even mean anything. And it was like a dash. And she was like, oh my God, are you all right? I can feel it in your energy field. And I was like, oh my God, how did you know? I was like really not feeling it. So I believe that we are all interconnected in this way. Do you have anybody in your life that you are connected to in that way?
Totally. I have a couple of really good girlfriends and it's the same thing. It's like unspoken. No, they're across town. I'm in LA. They're across town on the other side of LA, yet you know exactly what's going on. My mom is like that. She always knows like when to call me or she'll just call at the right time and say the right thing. Like yeah, and I believe almost everything is like synchronistic like that.
Yeah.
When like I think if your life isn't talking to you all the time in those ways through your friends and through people, that to me is like just a sign of disconnection. Cause I think when you're tuned in, I mean, it's everywhere in front of you. Like there
Yeah.
are times someone will pop into my head that I don't know, and then I will get like a DM from them a day later.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's just like this. I mean, the way I feel it is this unity consciousness, this field that we're all operating in. And it's just to what level you're like tuned into it to connect.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. I
yeah.
totally agree. Crystal, what do you think about that?
I was just thinking I'm lucky that I mean, my mom and I definitely are like that as well, but I'm lucky in that I have a heart part my wife is like we're just from the beginning we were just like spiritually connected, I really do feel. And yeah, it's one of those things that for me, I think right now I find that life can be a blocker to that sometimes.
Mm,
When especially when you know you've felt it and you've, like, felt that spiritual connection and you've felt, like, those vibrations around you, but then when you get so busy and life keeps showing up that you feel numb to like, you're not as open to it, right? And so,
mm,
like, I'm interested in, like, how when you're coaching people and working with people that that know that they have this kind of like not it's not a wall because I'm not intentionally putting it there. It's kind of just it appears on its own. Like how do you break through that? How do you, guide people on getting back in touch with that spiritual side?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's so common. And actually, it's funny. I host these workshops of reconnecting to your intuition
Mm.
because it's so common to like drop off and not know what happened or have these like moments. And whenever someone like reconnects and realizes how psychically in tuned they are, it like totally changes things. So, one easy way to do this is like every morning, take 5 minutes and talk to whoever you talk to God, source, spirit, the universe, and I do this one thing where to start just opening that communication and feeling that magic again, I will say, like, God, source, spirit, as if this is in my highest good, this thing I want to do. Show me XYZ as a sign. And it could
mm,
be a number, a feather, a whatever. If it is not in my highest good, show me an XYZ as this sign. And that within itself immediately reestablishes the connection with the divine, and you will get a sign. Like, I've never met anyone who didn't get one within like a day or two. And like, if you make it a really complicated one, it might take a little longer, but like, and I've had people like request certain things on a billboard. I mean, it might take a week, but it's going to come. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that then just gives you these little like hits of excitement, because usually when we're not tuned in, whether it be to a partner, a friend, or even just the divine, it's like our vibration has just gotten low. And so we might just be exhausted, depleted, dysregulated. Those are really easy ways to fall out. And so just 5 minutes in the morning to talk to whoever you talk to, ask for guidance, ask for a sign. Then you get that sign and you get that hit of magic and you're just like, oh my God, it's back. Like, okay, it's back.
Mhm.
You're like, kind of back in that vibration, and it can kind of help to uplift you when maybe you're feeling depleted.
I love that.
Totally. Yeah.
Right? So good.
Yeah.
Isn't she so good, you guys? Didn't I tell you? Like, of course, when I send you out to everybody, like I send you out to
Yeah.
everybody, right? Like,
Thank
I was
you.
like, you guys need to hear her. She's phenomenal.
That's
But of
nice.
course, also, I felt this pull to have other coaches, like to help other coaches. And I was telling Crystal and Karen, I was feeling really pulled by my spirit guides and pulled by God to start helping other coaches elevate and I was like, okay, God, how do you want me to do this? Because the way that I thought I was supposed to do it didn't feel completely right to me yet.
Yeah.
And then so when I, developed this podcast with these amazing women, I was like, what's really good would be really great to bring on other coaches, right?
Mm,
And give them an opportunity and platform to talk about what they do, right?
yeah.
And so here I am doing exactly what I'm called to do,
Yeah.
what I felt deep within my spirit to do, but I'm doing it in a way that I didn't foresee.
And it
Mhm.
almost always is in a way we don't foresee, right? Like, it's almost always like a totally different direction. It's like, we
Yeah,
know the outcome, but then we're like, "How are we getting there?" And it's almost I
yeah,
totally get what you're saying, yeah.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So thank
So
you for that
I
compliment.
have a question. How can you tell when something's intuition or something that is based off of fear that is triggered from like past trauma?
yeah,
Like, um, because I went through this whole period of a couple months of feeling like the devil was attacking me
yeah,
because I was seeing. I mean, I really thought I was going crazy. It was a time period of my partner leaving me, and I swore he was cheating on me, but he was telling me that he wasn't. I would look at his clothes, and his clothes were telling me that they were leaving, and I thought I was going crazy, like all these things. But after everything that was said and done, and I was like trying to pray the devil away. And after he actually left the house, and I'm really making the story short right now, the spirit actually whispered in my ear, never refer to me as evil again. And I knew in that moment, that it wasn't the devil whispering to me, it was the spirit or whatever is watching over me. Right. And so, in that, and because of everything that transpired with that, and I know I'm very intuitive and I know I'm connected, right? I still have a hard time knowing if it's my intuition or if it's my fear and my own intrusive thoughts that are getting
mm,
to me, right? So
yeah.
what are your thoughts and guidance on that?
Yeah. That's a really good question, because I think so many people go through that. I know it's something I myself have gone through many times, especially when you're in a chaotic situation or there's like a lot of upheaval in some way. One of the first things I always tell people is that your intuition is repetitive. It doesn't go away, right? Where the fear is kind of in the background, but it comes and goes. Where intuition is like it's going to show up over and over and over again, because innately within you. So it's like always there, just waiting for you to listen. Um, and on the other side of that, I also have a personal rule for myself. I don't tap into my intuition when I am dysregulated, because my own intrusive thoughts in my own mind can take that on a journey. So I can also
Mhm.
get like a really clean intuitive download, but what my mind will do with that can take me somewhere else. And so if I'm really going through something, that is a point in time where I will outsource to someone else. Like, hey, whether it be an intuitive friend or a guide or another coach or something, like, hey, I'm really struggling with this and I can't get clear messages for myself right now because I'm way too dysregulated. Can you tap in for me? Uh, and then I will really work on regulating my nervous system to a point where then I can tap in again myself. Because again, it's not that the intuition's wrong, it's what my mind will do with the intuition that will take
Mm.
me to a different place, right? Because there's just
Mhm.
fear and like chaos involved. So that's always kind of my recommendation is when you're in one of those, like get to somebody else who's that anchor for you, just long enough to like stabilize yourself and then kind of come back to it. But I think when you're not in chaos, intuition is usually very clear. It usually is not a story. Fear usually comes through stories. Like it's usually a story of something that has happened before, or you're, fearing that past thing's going to come back in the future, where intuition is just, it's clear. There's no story behind it. And it often isn't the thing that we want to hear either, right? Like my intuition is usually not what I want to hear because it's asking me to do the thing I'm probably afraid to do,
Mm.
but I know I'm meant to do. Like getting visible was not a thing I wanted to do. I was intuitively guided to get visible. So my intuition is always guiding me out of my comfort zone. And it's very clear where fear always comes with a story, and is usually wanting me to stay stuck.
Mm.
And that's kind of how I differentiate the two. Like, is there a story attached? And does this expand me or contract me? And that kind of guides me between the two.
Woo! That's
Fire.
good. Does it
Wow.
expand
That
me or
is
does it
fire.
contract me? I like that.
Yeah.
I like that too. Yeah.
If you guys haven't looked into your North Node in astrology, are you guys into astrology at all?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
But
prepared for
but
this.
North
You
Node.
are.
I like
Perfect.
want to look that up right
I
now.
ran my whole
Right.
chart before we came.
So your North Node is your destiny. It is what you are meant to go toward in this lifetime. Your South Node is your comfort zone. It's what you have mastered in your previous life, what you are meant to walk away from in this lifetime, right? So for me, mine was codependence. That's why I was in so many narcissistic dynamics before. It was staying hidden, all of those things. That's my South Node. So one way I also look at things is like, am I expanding or contracting? Am I headed towards my North Node or am I trying to stay comfortable in my South Node? So that can put some very tangible things on like where you're supposed to go and when you're not. That can also help you with your intuition too.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
something that I'll definitely be researching later.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
It's
Cheers.
We're
it's
like,
so good.
that's so good. Man,
it's
I never even
refreshing
thought
concept.
about like looking at my North Node or anything because I'm more thinking about doing my birth chart and looking into my past lives. And yes, I have dove into these down these avenues, but I haven't looked up that. So I
Yeah.
will definitely be
Check
doing
it
that.
out. It totally changed the game for me. Like finding out my North Node, I found out my North Node 2.5 years ago. And that's when I knew, like, oh, I'm supposed to be visible. I'm supposed to be coaching. I'm supposed to like move away from codependence in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And it gave me such a clear direction of like where to go when you're in that in between of like what, you're in. I was in pure fear. And so it was a game changer for me. So your North Node and your South Node in your birth chart. Your Chiron placement is the biggest wound you're here to heal. So if you
Mm.
heal that, you clear so much karma out of your life, which is amazing. My Chiron is in communication. So like that's the wound I had to get over. So it all kind of ties in.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, if you go into like deep into astrology, it gives you like the blueprint of your soul and it has so much information to tell you exactly where you're meant to be going and doing and how to do it.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, girl. I'm like, Karen, I hope you're taking notes
Taking
because
notes.
we're doing it. Okay. Good.
I'm taking notes.
I'm like reading mine while we're talking. I'm like, my North Node's in Gemini. And
Awesome.
It's all around communication. So you're definitely meant to. Do you know what house it's in?
sixth house.
Sixth house. Okay. So the sixth house can be a lot of things. It's definitely around like your daily habits. It can be around health. But with North Node and Gemini, you're definitely meant to balance communication. So you may have spent maybe earlier parts of your life in the background, staying silent, maybe in people pleasing mode, and you're really meant to balance that and
Oh,
step into balanced leadership. And one of your challenges will be doing that not just on a big way, but in your day-to-day life. That will be in your sixth house.
What
Yeah.
did we just talk about the other day, Crystal?
I know.
So good.
While I was reading this, I got it from, I don't know, cafeastrology.com or, whatever it was. But I was reading it and I was like, huh, yeah, that seems, and what you just said is basically what it said. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, like, when it comes to astrology, I feel like it gets a bad rep because everyone, I mean, I don't want to age myself, but I go back to like looking in the newspaper at what my daily horoscope was.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember my mom, like, I remember reading it and being like, don't talk to me. And my mom's like, that could be for anyone. Like, you don't know, like, it's so generic. It could, but like, I think when you get more into like the more in-depth things, I think there really is like value in it. And it, like, especially I feel like when you're maybe a little older or like not even older, but like you have more self identity,
Mhm.
that when you read it, you're able to identify with it more because you're more grounded in yourself,
For
you know?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's really powerful. I think there's definitely predictive, and I think you can like look at the future and predict things as well through it. But I think the most powerful way it's used and the way it's really meant to be used is like to decode your soul from like a
Mm,
psychology get to know yourself level. Like I really think it's like we, into the stars before we came down here. So we would have some type of a guide to like navigate life.
yeah. I
Hmm.
love that. Thank you for sharing all of that. All of us
Yeah,
are going to be
of
very
course.
busy tonight. Thank you.
I know. You're gonna text each other back and
We're
forth on different placements.
Yeah, we're gonna be in your DMs, be like, "What does this mean?"
Totally, right?
Yes,
And
I love it.
I love that Crystal just now brought up like people coming into their identity as we get older. One of the things I found is in my early childhood, Kristen, I was raised in Lutheran, the Lutheran church, right? Which they broke off from Catholics for anybody who's familiar or unfamiliar. And so I was raised in the church to do catechism. We did communion, and we stood up, sat down, all the things. As I got older, I wanted to find my higher power and God for myself. And so I tried a bunch of different churches, right? So I was like Baptist, I was Mormon, I went to I can't even think of the name. Anyways, it was like a rock concert for Jesus. Pentecostals.
Yeah.
Pentecostals, they're a rock concert for Jesus. God bless them.
Jesus.
They will bring the house down with a rock
That
concert
sounds
praying for
great.
the Lord, honey. They'll bring it down. And then what I found as I got older and I started to connect more with myself and
Mhm,
who I am, I broke away from religion,
mhm.
right? Which if people need that, good for them. Again, if this is what you need to feel closer to your higher power or God, then you're on the right track, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all the same. I just found that I wasn't going to go to heaven by a bishop or a pastor telling me that I have to show up to their church and live by their set of rules, meaning I had to wear a dress or a skirt. And otherwise, I wasn't going to go to heaven, or I couldn't drink Pepsi because it's caffeinated. And I was like, these are not my beliefs. Like, I'm a recovering drug addict, for God's sakes. Like, you know what I mean? And so I was like, I stepped away from all of that and I started to build a relationship. So away from religion and build a relationship with my higher power, whom I call God. And the more I start to develop that and become more self aware, I have found myself leaning towards the idea of Christ consciousness, is
Mhm.
what I believe, and that we are all one and all interconnected. And like you were talking about synchronicities and how everything is connected and nothing happens in this world by mistake. And if we're just paying attention, we'll start to understand how these things are happening for us and not to us. And so a big part of that transformation was my trauma and working through my traumas and not want and the fear of being seen as something that I've dealt with my whole life, but it was more about shame and
Yeah.
guilt and the shame around people seeing that I wasn't perfect. And like now I don't care. Honestly, Kristen, I'm gonna pass. I don't give a fuck anymore about that beautiful space.
Yeah.
But now that I'm walking in my true identity, so the question I have for you is, um, how do you know? How do I know if I'm walking in my true identity versus like a version shaped by trauma, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really
Well,
good question.
what do you
I think there's a couple of like little clues that someone could know whether they're living authentically in their identity, or I call it the matrix survival identity. It's really like if you look day to day, how often do you consider people outside of you? Because if you're constantly thinking, no matter what you say or you do, or you're like, oh, this person's going to respond this way. How would they think about this? Oh, I really want to do XYZ, but I don't want to be made fun. Like, if that's kind of the rhetoric in your head, which a lot of us can live with, I know I did for a really long time, that you're not in your authentic identity.
Mm.
You're at conflict with it because you have this feeling that who you are is not okay to be. So there's this conflict of like the version of you that you've constructed, right? The other side of that is like, are you truly doing what you want to do? I know for me, part of what started me on this journey was that like at 32, I started my life over again. I sold everything. I moved across the country. I started a new career, but I was building from wounding still. So I was still trying to be who I thought I needed to be, right? I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be seen as successful. Like I wanted outside validation to be like, you're okay. Like we like you, right? Like that's what I really wanted. And so then 5 years later at 37, I found myself in the same position of just like, yeah, I made a lot of money and I was successful, but I was deeply unfulfilled. Like I felt like corporate was sucking my soul dry.
Hmm.
Would wake up in the morning and be like, I cannot wait to go to bed tonight. I'm exhausted. Where like now I don't want to go to bed because I love my life so much. I just can't wait to get up the next morning. Like, so I feel like there's little ways where it's like, are you doing the thing you want to do? How much energy do you have? And how often are you considering things outside of yourself
Mm.
instead of just being and doing and existing and trusting that? I think that really can kind of tell you where you're at in your identity journey.
Thank you for saying and sharing that and your truth, which of course is so relatable for so many. Corporate totally just, that desire to prove myself or, prove my worth. And so overextending and overdoing to for what? And
For
just
what exactly?
for what? Just I was miserable, you know.
Right. And there's
Um
no amount of validation that would have fulfilled like, I know for me, it didn't matter what amount of validation came in, like, it wasn't real because it was all just my wounding,
yeah,
and nobody outside of you can fulfill that except for yourself, so it's like you will just be, in a rat race of trying to get just this, "Oh, if I get this, I'm gonna feel good about myself. If I achieve this, I'm gonna feel good about," and it's like, you're not. It's just you're gonna keep moving that goalpost.
exactly.
I
Mhm.
Exactly.
really,
Thank
really appreciate what you said, building from your wounded place.
Mm,
That
yeah.
resonated with me big time.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to do because we're not trained or even like it's not even welcome for us to be who we are, right? Like from school, they teach us silence and compliance.
Hmm.
They put us through a system that's like, okay, you go to school, now you go to college, now you graduate, now you go get a job, now you get married. Like there's such a thing that you're supposed to do, and in school they don't nurture your individuality. They don't
right.
nurture, so you're not even taught that, right? So then it's like you don't even know. I know at 32 I had no idea acting out of wounding. Like I didn't know that. But I knew at 37 when I was like doing this again, I was like, I can't restart my life at 37. I'm looking around me, everyone's getting married, having kids, they're, like, so stable, and here I am, like, at rock bottom trying to start over yet again, not knowing who I am or where I'm going, so, like, that was the moment where I was like, "I can't do what I did at 32 again. What did I do then?" Right? And then it's like, "Oh, yeah, I just wanted someone to tell me I was okay and lovable and likable and, some really basic things," but it really, yeah, kept me living outside myself for a long time.
For sure. For
Mhm.
sure. Thank you.
Mhm.
It's crazy because I was just talking to Adriana the other day, and I was telling her how like I feel like I'm at the point where I'm having to get comfortable being seen, because for a long time I didn't want to be seen. I avoided trying to, if I wanted to be seen, the only time I wanted to be seen is if I was making a joke, cracking a joke, or being funny, right? Like, because I could control that. I knew the laughing at me was because I did something to deserve being laughed at, right? So it was a control mechanism. And so now I'm putting myself in these situations where, like, hello, I'm doing a podcast, like
Yeah.
I'm putting myself in the situation to be seen, and now it's like that uncomfortableness of like, okay, I'm doing it, but now I'm having to get through the uncomfortableness of doing it
Yeah.
and going towards the like empowerment of being seen,
Mm.
right? And so like how do you like what does it mean to you like spiritually to be seen, like invisible to yourself, others, the public, whoever?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, congratulations on doing that because that is not an easy thing to do. It's visibility, I think, is the biggest human wound. Honestly, congratulations for even recognizing it and then doing that.
Mhm.
I think that on a spiritual level, to be seen is to be all of you. So I always say being seen and being visible are two very different things. I used to be a publicist and I made a lot of people very visible. They were not seen. It was a very curated perception of who they were and what they wanted people to know or what, seemed like it would be the right thing to get customers or whatever it was. Um, Being seen is being able to be yourself in every sense. And so to me, that's in relationships, that's at work, that's with your friends, that's with everything. And then on a platform, it's being all of you. And so I know for me, it was a slow burn. This wasn't something I did like overnight. It was like I every few months kind of peeled back another layer. And at first, it was the first thing I did was share my spiritual gifts. And then it was like, okay, now I'm going to share some of my story. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to share some of the things that I've carried a lot of shame about. And so it was more like the behind the scenes. I would kind of alchemize things internally, and then I would share those things online as part of that process. But for me, it's being able to say like anything and everything that I want. And it's not watering down my message, no matter who I'm talking to. So if you're at dinner with me, you might hear some conspiracy stuff. You might hear some but like I don't water that down online, in person. I teach online. If you were to come into my home, I'm probably also going to teach you. It's just like my natural archetype. I have lots of books. I'm really excited about information. I can't wait to like tell people what I learned. So like I'm me in every single moment, even if it's not what people love. And I've gone on podcasts and I've shared things. And I can see on the host's face, they'll be like, well, we don't talk about that here. And I'm like, but that's who I am. And so my job that is just to sit in the discomfort of being myself until I feel comfortable with other people's discomfort with me being myself.
Mm. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think too it's like at least for me like in my journey uh, it's funny because I've it's kind of moved simultaneously and like me rediscovering my voice and like my ideas at the same time as putting them out there and like putting myself out there, right? So it's like, I mean, that's kind of what I think the very first episode of this podcast, I said, like, we're here not doing it perfect because we're learning as we go.
Yeah.
Like, and like I'm in, the therapy of life and trying to figure it out while I'm putting myself out there. So it's like I may say one thing today and I may feel different about it next week. And that's like, I'm going to let that be okay and like evolve and grow and just put that on display for people to be like, oh, okay, it's okay to not know everything all the
Mhm.
time and just still put yourself out there like a mess.
I think that's cool that you're doing that because that's the thing is most people are too embarrassed to be witnessed in their process of becoming something new. So they're like, once I have a following, once I have this, once I have that, it's
Right.
okay for people to see me. But like you doing that, Crystal, just gives anybody who watches permission to be like, oh, I don't have to have it figured out. I don't have to know what I'm doing. Like I still don't know what I'm doing half the time, right?
Nobody
That,
does.
yeah, no one really does at the end of the day. We're all just kind of
Yeah.
pretending we do. But like um, I think that's a superpower, allowing yourself to be witnessed in your process of becoming. Not only will it unlock so much for you, but that unlocks so much for other people. And it gives them permission to just be like, oh, yeah, what if I did just try something and I wasn't perfect at it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I love that you said that you were true to your authentic self, even like if people come over for dinner, because that's the piece, isn't it? It's, I find it so funny that as a life coach, and I've been a counselor for 8 years in the addiction and recovery field and
Hmm.
over 8 years. And when I'm at home and with my kids or at dinner with my children, they'll say things like, "Mom, gosh, do you have to like therapize?" I'm not a therapist, kid, right? And I'm like, I can't like shut it off. Or if I was on a date, right, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, tell me about more about your trauma. Like, I can't like help it. Right?
Right.
It's not something we can shut off. And that's what I'm hoping also that people will learn or hear even through us even talking about these things, that when we're talking about spirituality, or we're talking in the ways that we're talking about, when you talk about visibility or reading books and you can't wait to educate people, it's not us trying to do our thing and like push it on you. It's like, this is what excites us. This is what brings our spirits to life. And I just can't wait to share it with anybody who's willing to listen, you
Yes.
know? So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. That's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things in the world is to have an idea and be like, how can I communicate this on the whiteboard? Like, how can I love just sitting in that space and trying to think like, how can I talk about this in a way no one else is? How can I break this down? Like, it's fun for me to like have this information and then try to break it down that way. And it's like, if it lights you up, it will be successful regardless, because
Mhm.
your light is God's light, or spirit, whoever you talk to. But it's like, and if you follow your light, you cannot be on the wrong path.
Mm, amen to that.
Well, I was intently listening, and then I was thinking about some stories in my head, and
Mhm.
stuff came up for me as y'all were talking, about going outside my comfort zone. And
Mm.
that like started what 4 or 5 years ago with a camping trip that I pulled Adriana along with me. That we're doing this, right?
But yeah, there was no ask. There was no ask. It was
Right.
all done. Yeah.
We were all coming out of COVID, right? And we were all isolated for so long, and I like made a commitment to myself that I needed to like grow and expand in myself and in my recovery and all the things. And so I decided, okay, I don't like camping. I don't like dirt. And so, but do this because it's something different. And I don't know, I felt the spirit pushing me to do it. And I said, A, we're going to go along. You're going to come with me. And we did it. And we've been doing it every year since. And that's like what sparked the whole process for me is doing things outside of my comfort zone. And ever since then, I've been doing it, and it's given me the opportunity to grow and expand and face things, even though I'm worried or fearful or have doubts in. But just do it anyway, because if I don't do it, first of all, I'll have regret, and then second of all, I lose out on the opportunity to want to do something new and to grow in that.
Mhm.
And even with this, right? And so like I was doing like the external things, right? But now it's like the internal things that I like, even like with this podcast that I call Adriana A,
So,
pushing me along, pulling me along, to do, and then like speaking my truth about things that normally I do not, and
Mm.
do it on this platform. And which is giving me a lot of relief in that too, and there's, like, visibility in that, which there's fear behind that because people, anybody, friends, family, can see it,
Mhm.
and there are things that I don't talk about openly with everybody, you know?
Yeah.
So, um, but within that, it has given me a sense of freedom.
Yeah.
It's a process as it's happening. It's
Mhm.
uncomfortable in that I get wiggly, and I get, like, this internal wiggle, like, I can't even put words to it. There is no words, but on the other side of it, there is freedom on the other side of it.
Mhm.
mhm.
I call visibility soul level liberation. Um,
Ooh, soul level liberation.
yeah.
Bloom.
That's what I actually called it before I started calling it visibility, because when I would speak about soul level liberation, people were like, "What is she talking about? What does that mean?" And it sounded too intense. People were like, "I'm not going on that journey." And so when I started, it's my exact same methodology, but now I do it under the lens of visibility. And people are like all about it because everybody has this fear of being seen. But when you overcome the fear of being yourself, you literally liberate every aspect of your soul. Um,
Mm,
Clear your money blocks. You can clear your love blocks. You can do all of those things. That doesn't make you who you are. If
mm,
you are, and again, it's a difference between visibility and being seen, right? If you're really truly seen, it means you have come home, returned back to yourself, and you've overcome the fear of being yourself. and it literally liberates your soul in every level. So I would say that's probably the process you're literally going through right now, Karen, as you do that, which is really cool.
Oh, I love that you saw that in my best friend because I couldn't agree with you more, which is I'm a pusher, Kristen. I'm a pusher. Okay. This is like as a life coach.
Totally.
Here we all are.
That's it. So, and may I present to you my co-host, right? And so I'm like, I'm just one of those people who gets an idea that drops into my spirit and I believe that comes from God. And if I feel, and if it, like you said, if it lights me up, I want to do it, but I want to see other people achieve their greatness too. And for whatever God will be like, well, like just ask them. And I'll be like, I'm more of a teller. So I'm like, friends, guess what we're doing? We're going to do this podcast. Right. And oh, I'm writing this book. You're going to help me write this. I'm
Hmm.
going to add you to this. Why? Because I'm a doer and I'm going to get it. Like if, I come up with an idea, I want to get it done and it doesn't have to look perfect. I don't even, because I used to be, I'm a recovering perfectionist is what I call myself. And I'm one of those people that now doesn't believe that anything has to be perfect. You just have to take this step and you'll figure it out along the way. And so when I see that in my friends who I want to see come to fruition of the best versions of themselves, I'm like, oh, is that it? Get over here, friend. Let's go do some stuff. Right. And the way that she took me camping, which it was like I said, it was not an ask, it was a tell, sweetie. There was no like Karen's like, we going camping. I was like, what? She's like, pack your stuff. I was like, I hate dirt. And she's like, it's gonna be glamping for you. So she glamped it up for me, right? But it was still dirt and bugs. But it ended up being one of our funnest, most spiritual experiences that we have every year together. Going something about dancing in the woods and skinny dipping with your best friends is like
There,
it's the
it's
best.
special. Something
Oh,
spiritual about that for sure.
for sure, for sure. So Kristen, because we talk so much about visibility and manifestation, I'm so curious, like, what are your views on manifestation and like energy work or even quantum concepts? And how do you keep those aligned with with truth?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Because a lot of my videos actually talk about manifestation being a form of spiritual warfare. And I believe so I'll just give you my overall philosophy is that the light creates and darkness manipulates. So the dark cannot create, it can only manipulate what the light has already created. And I believe that to be true in every teaching. So every religion, new age spirituality, I think that there's truth and I think that there is light and dark in everything. And so manifestation is absolutely real. However, so much of the teachings out there are so distorted, it keeps people stuck in these manifestation loops that they never actually get out of. So they never really break through or break free. Um, and I think actually the missing piece to manifestation that most don't talk about is identity. And then again, it's like you can manifest anything, but when you're manifesting from an inauthentic place, you don't know who you are yet. You're manifesting from wounds. So even if you call something in, you're not going to be able to hold on to it. This is when people call in 10 grand and it immediately is gone because they can't hold it. And you're also kind of like overriding like the soul journey, right? So you can literally have and create anything you want in this life, but it's like so important to come back to your true soul Christ light identity. And that is your power as a creator. It's within your identity.
Yeah.
And I think so many people are like, just sit there and visualize and act as if. And it's like that information is so surface level. It keeps people stuck. They will sit there and I have clients who have come in and they're like, I visualize every day for 45 minutes. I've been doing this for 2 years. I've been doing this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, the piece that you're missing is like your identity is still in survival
Mm,
and you're not taking any action. So you're sitting here just manifesting. And so for me, I believe manifestation is real, but I don't want to be a manifestor. I want to be a creator. Like I want to be in my creator potential. And simply you think about it and it's there because you're so in alignment versus like, let me sit here and visualize and all of these things. So that's my thoughts on manifestation. It is real, but like most of what's out there is highly distorted and it just keeps people stuck. And so I think one of the greatest skills we actually have to learn in this lifetime is discernment and looking at things and truth. And like I even tell my clients, I want you to be so sovereign and so discerning that you even question everything I say. Like I question everything anybody says at any given time. I don't take anything on as truth. I allow it to like land and I'll sit with it and decide if it's true later, or I'll channel or talk to my guides or whatever. And I think that sovereignty is really important to be in every single person. Like if my clients are questioning me, that I know I've done my job. If they're like not just taking things on and just being like, oh, well, Kristen said, uh,
Mhm.
and then I think we're in this place right now where I think religion became very dark. Most religion, right? Became very dark, very distorted, very dogma, very controlling. Then there was like this pendulum swing to new age spirituality. And it went way too into the woo. And I think we're coming back into this really grounded place where we're going to see a lot more around like the quantum field and how that field is incredibly powerful. And we're going to have like this really beautiful combination of like spirituality, religion, but also like science. And I think
Mhm.
that's going to be a game changer for the collective.
Wow. How exciting. I couldn't
Hmm.
agree with you more. And it's all so exciting to me, all of it. And I agree with you. Actually, when you just said that, what you just said, it touched me in such a way. I was like, don't start crying right now. Don't start crying because that was so powerful what you said. I feel like I am such a strong manifester. And if you were to ever take a look through or find out about my life, Kristen, you would be like, wow, she is a powerful manifester. I can literally manifest anything. One of my biggest issues is that I couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why. And it's for me, what I've come to the realization is that's where it's gonna make me cry. Sorry. I wasn't creating from the sense of it was from my wounds.
Yeah.
It was from my wounding and what I thought the world needed to see of me.
Hmm.
And I'm not creating from that space anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just be a manifestor. I want to be a creator of my life.
Yeah.
Right? Because we are so powerful and we are such powerful beings. And so for me, stepping into learning what is the difference, what is the truth between what I want and what the world wants. And it's not about, I'm a woman in this world, not of the world. And that's where I had to find my truth and learn to speak for what is best for me and the vision that I have for my life. Um, so thank you for saying that. It touched me so deeply. Um, I have one more question. How would you help somebody use their story, uh, or testimony in a way that honors God or, even creates an impact?
Yeah. I think our stories are incredibly powerful. I think if everyone were to share their story, we would literally shift humanity out of survival mode. I think that, there's a reason that the Bible and a lot of these teachings are told through story because story bypasses like the conscious mind. And it goes into the subconscious right away.
Mhm.
People feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood, they feel hopeful. Like there's so much. And I think so many people are carrying around shame that um, when you hear somebody else has gone through the same thing, right? You're like, oh, well, I don't think they're a bad person. So why am I thinking I'm a bad person for this thing, right? It can be a very quick, easy way to switch things for people. As far as your question about bringing it, really connecting it to God or to a testimony, I think it's important to connect your story to miracles. Um,
Mm.
the things that happened that just did not make sense, big or small. The way, whether it's the little synchronicity, the feather that showed up in the moment you needed to make a decision, the money that came out of nowhere. And when you start to connect it to something outside of yourself, I think that's when you start to give testimony to God, source spirit, that higher power, that there is, like a co-creation. I'm taking action, but damn, the divine is also really supporting me in doing that.
Mhm. Mhm. Amen to that. You
Yeah.
actually said something on your Instagram where I was watching one of your videos and you said, "I work for God."
Yeah, I'm on God's
Yeah, you're on God's payroll.
payroll. Mhm.
Ever since you said that, I think I called even Kara and said it to Crystal. I was like, "Here, I'm on God's payroll. Like, I'm not worried about money, right? Money comes to me easily. He pays me. He pays my bills, right?
Mhm. I'm
So
on
good.
God's payroll. It's my favorite thing. It's one of my favorite things to teach clients. Like an unexpected bill, God doesn't give me bills that God doesn't plan to pay. So I know an inspiration is coming behind that. I'm going to take action on that, and money is going to flood to me. I know that money comes from God, so it doesn't come from clients. It doesn't come from people. It doesn't come from anything. I just have to be open and do what is in my soul, follow my light, and I need to just have channels open for money to flow to me. and God takes care of the rest. So it's like, it's a really powerful way to also understand like how much divine support is here for us.
Mhm. Amen to
And
that.
having trust
Mhm.
in that faith,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that it's hard for a lot of people
Yeah. It was hard for
to
me. It took me a lot of rock
yeah.
bottom and a lot of
Yeah.
miracles to regain that trust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's once you have those, like you said, like, and it's almost like for me in the stage that I'm at right now, it's like remembering the miracles that have happened, right?
Mhm.
Going back and remembering, like, even us just purchasing our home, like it was a miracle the way that it happened because you know, there was a all cash offer that they declined and chose us instead, right? Like
Right.
it's very uncommon for that to happen. So going back and when I guess when I feel stuck, going back to those moments of when I wasn't stuck and being like, remember what that felt like, and like what was I practicing then,
Mhm.
and yeah, I just I have a lot of thoughts after this conversation, so I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
One thing I do, Crystal, I have in my phone and on my notepad a timeline of transformation and miracles.
Mm,
And so I just go in and I do like one of those little bullet points. I put the date and whatever the thing was. And it could be like getting the synchronicity. I every time I leave my house, I ask God a question and I know I'll find the answer out in the wild wherever I'm going. And maybe it's the person at the grocery store says the exact sentence to the cashier in front of me. And so I keep a list of that. And when I feel disconnected or I just feel like what is going on, I go through that list and I'm just like, wow, like how can my connection in the divine not be restored? And it's also just a fun way to look back. Like I look back at the
mhm,
last 2.5 years since I've been doing that, and it's just really cool to look at that and be like, "Damn, there's some really cool things that have happened this whole time," and just I don't know, it's fun, and then as soon as you start doing that, it's like the divine gives you more and more and more of it, and it really
mhm.
helps turn that connection back on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do that with my dreams sometimes. Like I have a kind of a note in my notes because I get numbers in my dreams.
Mm.
Like those are the kind of things that like come to me in my dreams where I'm like, am I supposed to be like, I don't, it's like you think, what
Cool.
is this trying to tell me?
Mm,
Or like, is this like some other alternate reality that I'm going to in my dream? Like, I don't know. I get like really
wow,
weird about dreams.
That's awesome.
it's weird. I
Same.
think it's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or are you
Same.
trying to navigate something right now? Like, are you trying to navigate a path or a life decision or something like? Because not only would you be in an alternate reality, but you would still probably be working something out subconsciously too.
Yeah. I think I'm just trying to figure out what my purpose is.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, in the broad scheme of things,
Mhm.
that's it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Well
Mhm.
said. Well, ladies, do either of you have any further questions for our fantastic guest, the Kristen Shea? Karen, any more questions? Crystal?
I, uh, I mean, I do, but it's not unrelated. But I hear a lot of people now, like, having psychics. Do you have, like, a psychic that you go to?
So, yes and no. So I'm a psychic myself. So I generally, like I said, unless I'm dysregulated, kind of have
Mhm.
my own connection. If I do feel dysregulated or I feel confused, there's a girl I go to. Her name is Chloe, and she's this psychic fairy on TikTok. So if anybody's looking, you could go to her and get a reading. She's amazing. But yeah, I think the one thing I think with psychics, and she's really good about this, I'm just saying for people in general with discernment, is to understand psychics are tapped into multiple timelines. So what you're getting for information is like a timeline that is available to you. If you don't like what you're getting, you can change it, and if you do like what you're getting, you still need to take action towards it. Like, it's not like this crystal ball where it's just like, this is what's going to happen for you. It's like, this is what's available to you right now in this moment based on the choices you're making, the timeline you're on. So just for people to understand, like when you go get a psychic reading, it's not a crystal ball. It's like helping you navigate.
Mm, well said. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Interesting.
That's
Mhm.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, you should go through it. She's really good, the Psychic Fairy Tarot. If I needed a reading, she's who I would go to. So you could, and she has a bunch of readings on her page, so you can check her vibe.
beautiful. Trust that. Thank you. Well,
Hmm.
thank you. Thank you so much, Kristen, for being
Yeah,
here with
thank
us
you.
today and for sharing your heart and your wisdom and your perspective. This to me was like such a powerful conversation. It literally almost brought me to tears.
Oh, I love that.
So
Well, thank
thank
you for having me. It was really fun, and I enjoyed getting to know each one of you. And I love what you guys are creating on this podcast. And I know it'll just be super successful because your hearts are so aligned in everything you're doing.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
Thanks.
all of that. So, to everyone listening, of course, we hope that something in this conversation spoke to you, challenged you, or even helped you to feel a little more seen today. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and continue walking in your truth. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Ding ding.